Hey out there, this is Skully from Seasons of the Wolf, and you're listening to Metal Messiah Radio, and this is their 10-year anniversary. Happy anniversary, guys.
My whole life searching every minute, every day, fighting for my dreams, trying to make my way. Thought I found a treasure in a place you call a heart. Too blind to see, you fooled me, deception from the start. Shine the precious moment, then you turned it to the night. Hanging from the stars. Hold on tight. Only an illusion glowing in the dark. Now I can see there's nothing in your heart. Heard all your stories, where you've been, who you know. You say you've been so far, where all the rivers flow. Think you're so special, are you worth your weight in gold? Time goes by, see the light, the story's getting old. Clouds of silver linings full of pain and rain and tears. The road you take leads nowhere, now we end up here. Only an illusion glowing in the dark. Now I can see there's nothing in your heart. Waiting every second not worth a dime. Spin on you, so untrue, just a waste of time. Don't tell me who you are and what you think you know. You're just another wannabe that'll never make the show. Only illusion glowing in the dark. Now I can see there's nothing in your heart. Only an illusion glowing in the dark. Now I can see there's nothing in your
Alrighty, Metal Maniacs, here we go. Please help me welcome back to Metal Messiah Radio, hailing from Bradenton, Florida, from progressive heavy metal band Seasons of the Wolf. We have founding member Skully on guitar and vocals. Welcome back to the Metal Meltdown, Skully. How you doing out there tonight?
Thank you, Dave. It's been a while, man. I think, about 7 years?
Yeah, it's been quite a
Since I
while.
talked, yeah, since I talked to you the last time. Doing good here, and I hope everybody's doing good out there and not freezing their butts off up north.
But today actually it wound up to be a very nice day. I think spring might come early this year instead of being a very long winter like we always have. But yeah, it's been really cold. But today was nice and warm. It was like 50 degrees here. It's a heat wave. But
We actually got pretty cold down here this past week for Florida. I mean, people laugh about that up north, but it's different down here, man. I mean, it's a lot of humid, moist air.
yeah, we have that here
It,
too. Just colder. Yeah.
and it gets right into your bones.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But today's nice. It warmed up today, so we're good.
So we're at the same level there, and like we were saying, it's great to have you back with us. It has been quite a while, 7 years, and I need to congratulate you on your new release, the last Act of Defiance, and this is out on Iron Shield Records, based in Germany.
Yes, it is. And we also have Pure Steel Records helping with that. Uh, it's kind of like pretty nice for us this time around because we got Thomas. We were real good friends with him for a long time. They used to be one of the labels over in Germany that would basically purchase the product directly from us for their stock and a couple other labels. And that's how that relationship was formed. And then, of course, you know the anthology CD. Thomas got his feet wet with us, helping to put that old material out on a double CD. And Witch's Brew Records was involved with that, too. That was kind of like a partnership between two labels. And then Pure Steel Records also was their distributor and promotions and everything. And, of course, I've got Earth Mother Music, so it's kind of nice for a change because it feels like I got three record labels all helping out.
Especially in this day and age, that is a good thing because with the underground, the more hands you have, the better off you are.
Indeed.
And Skully, it's really hard for me to believe that Seasons of the Wolf is celebrating its 30th year. 30 years you're
Yep.
out there. Wow.
Coming up, it'll be October this year, will be 30 years.
Well, congratulations, man. And it's been 11 years since your last studio offering, Once in a Blue Moon. So I guess you could say you release your music once in a blue moon.
Yeah, well, you know what? We titled that album just for that very reason because we had a pretty good run there of putting out the self-titled album in 96, and then we turned around and put out Lost in Hell in 1999, and then we turned around and put out Nocturnal Revelation in early 2002. And we were hoping to follow through with that and get the next album out by at least 2004, 2005. And it ended up getting postponed and postponed for one reason or another. And we ended up putting it out in July of 2007. And one of the reasons we did that, it took so long to do it, that's what changed the title of the album. We called it Once in a Blue Moon because it felt like a long time for us. And then the other reason is one of our fans got in touch with us and said, hey, by the way, because we were going to put it out in January 2007, and they said, hey, by the way, coming up in July, between July and June, is actually going to be a blue moon. And I'm like, okay, well, then we'll just hold off on that because at the time, I had just written this new song called Ghost Woman, and it just fit perfectly for the album. So it actually gave us a couple of more months to go ahead and record that and stick it on the album.
That's an interesting story. It works, you know. But what I really need to know, I mean, it's been 11 years, it's been 8 years or 7 years since we've had our last interview. How has these years been for you in the band? How have you as a unit? How are you guys doing out there? How have you been? What have you been up to during the course of time?
Well, we pretty much got our asses kicked.
How so?
You know, and we were never completely inactive, though. When the economy hit really bad at its worst back in like coming out of 2007 and 2008, right at the same time, my brother was ill. And we kind of had to put things on the back burner for a couple of years just to see if he would recover, you know, and get his health back up to par.
Right.
We had already had, at the time, we had already had like 5 or 6 songs cut for the album. And we were hoping to get the album out at least by 2012. And, you know, and that was, like 2008, 2009 went by, 2010. During the course of that time, and we got hit so hard with the economy and stuff, you know, people were losing jobs and money wasn't coming in like it used to. I went ahead and opened up the place as a studio here, our rehearsal stage, and started helping out other bands just to make a little money to pay for, you know, to keep the place. And by getting involved with all that, I ended up helping a lot of bands, and I ended up playing bass in one band. I ended up playing in a cover band. I ended up recording with Rick Derringer up at a studio in St. Pete. I ended up doing a lead vocal thing in another project I got going called Soldiers of Night. And I've been helping 3D Burn on bass and helping them to get an album out as their co-producer. So we've been keeping busy. And then it was, we wanted to get the album out by 2014, but that wasn't happening because of financial problems mostly. So we just kept postponing it. In the meantime, my brother wasn't getting any better, only worse. So he kind of had to bow out completely and wished us to continue. So what ended up happening is I took that time to go ahead and finish the album out myself.
Yeah, I remember you telling me something about that our last conversation, and I'm sorry to hear about your brother's health issues. Is he doing any better these days?
Well, he's doing a little better, yeah. It's just so much happened to him. It's really got to do with a lot of health issues that's affected him both mentally and physically. And he can't really do what he was doing. He can't do the live shows. He doesn't have the stamina for it. His vocals, even coming out of 2007 and going into the next album and stuff, those last few shows we kind of noticed, and we just thought it was like, oh, he's got a cold or something like that. But
I got you.
We'd go on to do a full set, and the first 5 songs we'd play were like, right on the money. But after about 5 songs, his stamina started cutting out, and his vocals would get a little weaker and this and that, and he wasn't feeling good, and he was always getting sick. So, and so basically to move on, we gave him some time. We gave him a couple of years, basically, just to say, hey, look, I tell you what, let's just, we've been doing good. Let's just take some time, and you go do what you got to do, and see if you can get your health back and everything. You put 20 years worth of dedication into the band and everything, so we're not gonna cut loose with you or anything. But like I say, it didn't improve, and eventually he said he needed to bow out, and he wished us to continue because he knows basically Dennis and I formed this band back in 1988, and when we did, I had just came out of a band as a lead singer called Equinox. And I had already been doing lead vocals for quite a while. And really, at the first couple of years of Seasons of the Wolf, I kind of trained my brother in once he took an interest to it. And I knew he had the chops. He really wanted to do it. So that first couple of years of Seasons of the Wolf was all about him and I coming out by ourselves and working music and going through tapes and stuff and having him sing to shit and, basically just getting it down. And then we had a band, then we got our first bass player and drummer, and the rest is history.
So basically, you're carrying the torch for Seasons of the Wolf out of respect for your brother. You want to keep the band going. So this is why we're here. In the
meantime, we wanted to go ahead and take the time to look for another singer, but we knew replacing my brother was going to be, some hard shoes to fill. I mean, after you're already established with a singer in the band for several albums, the next guy is going to have to do as good or better, take it up a notch. Just like Bruce Dickinson replacing Paul Di'Anno.
Right, I got you.
Or Dio coming in after Ozzy. You're going to have to jack that up a notch and everything. And the new guy needs to be able to do the same type of approach, to the music and have the same type of desire to do that, and even be a good lyricist in the same style and have that. So when I put out ads for to have a new singer, I was basically going, we need somebody that's like a cross between Paul Di'Anno, Bruce Dickinson, Rob Halford, David Wayne from Metal Church, and listen to our stuff. And we went through about probably 24 different singers. Some were good, some were really good, but they weren't really nice, and then some were really nice but not really good.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
There's a lot of talent out there, but some of the talent, you got to be able to get along with the people you're working with.
You got to get the right fit,
Right.
the right
So we
match.
finally found the right fit. Robert Baxter called me up one day. He happened to know my brother when my brother was working at FYE, so he knew the situation. And he's just a guy that was around town, going to some, filling in on vocals for some buddy bands and stuff, jamming out around town, cover bands and stuff like that. And he'd do lights if they needed lights. He'd do sound if they needed sound. He helped the bands in and out the door, different clubs and stuff. And I ran into him one day, and he had our Seasons of the Wolf T-shirt on at a gig that 3D Burn was doing. I said, "Wow." He says, "Man, I'd like to get, I heard you guys got an anthology album. I'd like to get a copy of that." And I said, "Okay, I'll hook you up. Stop by the studio." So I handed him one. And then he contacted me about one day. He knew that we were running the rehearsal studio here, helping out other bands. He called me up on the phone and he asked me, he says, "Hey, I really want to start doing originals, and I'm looking for a band that's doing kind of like the Bruce Dickinson type thing, Rob Halford, old school melodic metal." I said, I tell you what, why don't you stop by and talk to me? I might have a band you'd be interested in.
Nice.
And when it came out, and I said, "Well, bring some lyrics with you." And I had a couple of pieces of music I'd written on guitar. When I flipped through his lyric book and I picked out a couple of lyrics, and I said, "Okay, well, take these lyrics and put it to what I'm playing." And boom, we wrote a song. In the first 15 minutes he was here. So I said, "You're our guy."
You found the right fit.
Right.
Excellent. And so he is now the current lead singer?
He is the current lead singer, and we're working on material for the next album right now. We got a new bass player, Sam Conable, on bass.
Very nice.
He also plays in another original band here called Cryptic Vision. They've got a couple albums out. And he also goes out and plays with a local cover band called Nation. And we went through a few bass player auditions, but Sam called me up one day after he read an ad that I had out and came out and met me and came out and we jammed, and that was it. So he's our new bassist. And we were looking for a drummer. We had our fill-in drummer and also one of our ex-drummers that still is a part of the family, Wayne Hopeful. He was coming out to help work Sam and Robert in, it's just so we could jam through some songs and get those guys used to it. But in the meantime, we were still looking for a more permanent drummer to be in the new live lineup and start writing songs for the next album. Sam said, "Hey, I know a guy. His name's Ken Trapp. I think he'd be a good fit." And I'm going, "No kidding, Ken." Ken plays in a Kiss tribute band called Kiss America. And I happened to already know him. I just didn't know that he would like to play our stuff. They came in here and practiced for almost 6 months every Sunday afternoon. So he came out and we went through some songs, and now we're a band again.
Congratulations on that. That's great.
As far as the new album that's out right now, it's kind of old to us already. Last Act of Defiance still has my brother on half the songs and me on half the songs.
That's
as far as singing.
Right.
We still have Mark Empire. He lives up in New Jersey, but he's on the album playing drums. We got Bill Boyce on bass, and now he lives up in Tennessee, but he was on the album on a couple of tracks. And our old drummer, Wayne Hopeful's on a couple of tracks. And the female bass player we had, Phaedra Rubio, she lives in Norway now, but she's actually still on a couple of tracks on the album as well. So that's how this album came all together.
Interesting. And how long did you actually work on Last Act of Defiance? How many, has it been like a total concentration of the last 7 years of yours, or How long?
Well, the
How long?
concentration on the album started in 2008,
I did. Okay.
just before my brother got so bad that we couldn't continue on with it. So, like I say, we put it on the back burner for a couple of years. Then we got back to work on it again.
That's interesting.
And we were so busy here at the studio helping other bands and recording and doing other people's product and everything. We ended up going a couple of more years. During that time, we did work on it from time to time. And we finally finished it up, I'd say, completely 2015.
All right.
And I even made an announcement on Facebook and several other places that we were getting ready to release it. Well, I shouldn't have done that
Wow.
because it just wasn't going to happen. And like I say, most of that had to do with getting everything back together. But because one of the main reasons is before we released the album, I wanted to make sure we had a full lineup to back it up for live shows and start writing for the next album.
I got
So,
you.
like I say, we pretty much finally got that together coming out of the end of 2017. We were going to release Last Act of Defiance this past summer. Then we got slammed with those storms.
Ah.
Yeah, and that tore a lot of things up down here and postponed for everybody, every business. You know, people losing their properties and roofs and trees and everything else. There was a lot of cleanup and everything. And to tell you the truth, a lot of parts of Florida still aren't cleaned up after that.
I believe it. I believe it. Yeah.
We ended up having to it got so late in the year. I was like, yeah, it's too late in the year to release the album. And Thomas had already took an interest in helping us out, and we had already planned on releasing it in the summer. But by the time I got the thing sent out and got it mastered and everything, it was getting into late October, November. And I just said, hey, look, why don't we just wait till January? That way, when we do release it, it has a whole full new year of being a new album.
Right.
Because at that point, for a band like us to release an album in October or November, 2 months later, it's already last year's album.
Yeah, I got you. But you've been working on it for a long time, so I'm sure you've been eager to get this out there. So here we are with it.
We have.
Yeah.
We have. And we're happy to finally have that out of the way and it out there working for us. And that's one of the reasons with the new lineup, we've already started work. We've got 7 new songs already written for the next album. A couple of them that Rob and I worked on together, one of them that he's presented, and a couple of them I already had that I wrote myself. So, and now that I got the new guys in here, I want to get them the new bass player and drummer for the rest of the album. I want to get everybody involved in it so everybody's got a part of it.
That's great news. Now, did you do all the mixing, mastering, and engineering at your own studio for Last Act of Defiance, or could you tell us more information about how this all came about?
We do everything here at the studio ourselves.
Right.
Back in the old days, we worked with Bud Snyder, which basically he's been the engineer for the Allman Brothers for most of his life. And he's done a lot of other stuff. And we learned a lot from him in the studio when we did the self-titled album. And then, of course, immediately after that, by the time we come around to Lost in Hell, we built up our own studio and took all that knowledge to begin doing it ourselves. So Lost in Hell, Nocturnal Revelation, Once in a Blue Moon, and Last Act of Defiance were all recorded right here at our studio.
I got you.
And I do most of the producing, and Dennis Risto, the keyboard player, my partner that's, you know, the 2 original founding members, him and I, he does the engineering. He's really good at it. So, and then sometimes we take turns. I help out a little bit with the engineering and he becomes part. So him and I are engineering together to make a Seasons of the Wolf album come out the way it needs to come out.
This is good. And is Seasons of the Wolf currently a live performing act?
It is now. Once again.
This is good to know.
It always was, but now it is again.
Do you have any future performances that we could spread the word on for the fans out there to know? Any news we could tell them about any shows you have coming up?
Well, we don't have anything on the slate right now.
Okay.
We did get an offer here just recently that we had to turn down because a couple of the guys had a couple other local gigs to do with their other projects. It probably wouldn't have benefited us much financially or anything, and it was a little close, like a couple, 2 or 3 weeks from now for a benefit show.
I see.
One of the ex-members of Crimson Glory, do you remember that band?
Sure.
Yeah, they live here. Ben Jackson. He's got a band called Avenging Benji. I've heard some of their stuff. They're pretty cool. I've worked with a couple of the guys that play in his band. But he invited us down to do some stuff at a local club for a benefit show. We ended up having to turn that down because we got other guys in the band that are busy with some other stuff right now. As far as anything else coming up on the calendar, what we're working towards right now, we will probably go out and do a few local shows in the Florida area, you know, the Tampa Bay area, because that's what we always do. We usually have an open house at our studio. I can fit about 150 people here. And that's what we're known for doing, because we have a stage in our studio it's a big stage.
Nice.
And that's what we practice on, under the lights, with the smoke machine, the whole thing. When we practice as if we're putting on a show. So what we'll probably do here in the next couple of months is we'll have a good old-fashioned Seasons of the Wolf open studio night with invite only. We'll invite a lot of our local fans to that, probably keep it around 50 people or whatever.
That's nice. Intimate, right?
Right. We haven't got our stock in yet for the new album. So we don't really want to do any shows until we got the stock and the T-shirts and all that stuff back up for merch to sell to people.
Exactly, because why do a show if you can't have the merch to give to the people, you know?
Right, and that's one of the other reasons it was kind of best for us just to pass on the benefit thing. Because even though it's a benefit and we wouldn't be getting paid and we'd be doing it for free as a benefit, it's going to work better for us if we got some merchandise for people to buy, so to start getting that out there. The next thing we're probably going to do is we'll probably play up at the Brass Mug in Tampa. We'll schedule something up there because we're known for going up there and playing to warm up for a larger show that we'll schedule up at the State Theater in St. Petersburg. And of course, we'll do a lot of work for that and everything too, making sure that we've got a camera crew there and all that so we can get videos of that live show. That way we can share it with more people around the world that aren't able to fly 2,500 miles.
Right.
The main thing for us right now is getting this next album basically written and started recording, because we're not going to be waiting another 10 years or 5 years. Right now, we definitely want to get this next album out with the new lineup by 2020.
We don't want to wait too long.
years.
We won't know we'll be around in the next 10 years to do it.
Exactly. And I want to make sure we get that out in 2 years, if not sooner. But definitely I'm giving us 2 years to get it done and have it ready to be released.
Do you have a working title for the follow-up to Last Act of Defiance?
We certainly do. And it's actually going to be the title track that we're going to record here very soon. And it will be the first thing that's released. We're actually going to release our first time ever. We're going to release a single from the upcoming album.
And can we give the people out there a hint of what the title is going to be?
The title of the album and the title of our first single release song is Once More Unto the Breach.
Once More Unto the Breach. Thank you. And just a moment ago, we started talking about merch, so I need to ask you, beyond the CD, what other merch do you think you'll be having available for the fans? It's been quite a while. I'm sure you'll have probably some new shirts. And what other merch will you possibly have for your fans? And where is the best place for them to find it? Would it be at your Facebook?
Well, right now, as far as T-shirt merchandise, we are completely out of stock. We've got 6 different T-shirt designs that we've had over the course of all the years. Because the album cover is really cool, if you've noticed, for Last Act of Defiance, we had this fella from Indonesia do the artwork, and he just did a super job with the 3-headed serpent,
Yeah, it looked cool. Yeah, very nice.
And the wolf, of course, giving the Last Act of Defiance. Shooting the finger back, telling the 3-headed serpent from hell to kiss my ass.
And what was his name again?
You know, I don't really know how to pronounce the fellow's name, but he always tells me to just credit him with 5 milligrams.
5 milligrams. All right.
5 milligrams. That's the guy from Indonesia that did the artwork. He did the front cover and the back cover. Very cool stuff. We're probably going to hire him to do the artwork for the Once More Into the Breach.
Nice.
And as far as merchandise goes, we definitely already have a poster made up that I'm going to try to have printed and that has the same artwork as the album cover. We obviously want to get t-shirts done with this new album cover on the front and have all the titles of the songs down the back. But we got so much t-shirt stuff that we want to restock, like the Orna Verum t-shirts with the gold coat of arms on it. That was always a popular one, so we're going to try to restock that. And the Territory t-shirts, which is basically, we call it the green t-shirt because all the printing on it was kind of green with a wolf's face on one side and then the Seasons of the Wolf Territory badge on the back part of the t-shirt. Basically, we're going to try to get stocked back up with at least 3 of our t-shirt designs. And of course, we've got stickers that we hand out for free.
Right.
Which every
That's
band
great.
should do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea.
I'm a nut for stickers. Every band that comes in the door here at the studio, I'm always asking them if they got stickers because I like to stick them all over our road cases and all over the wall.
Yeah, that's cool. And
that and stock on all of our albums because right now we're out of stock on a couple of the albums. So as soon as the new album gets here and the money starts circulating back around, then we can start stocking back up on albums that we're out of. And that way we can when we go out and do the live shows, we'll have a full stock of all the albums and a full stock of at least 3 of the t-shirt designs and posters, obviously posters, and more than likely 8x10 photos of the new lineup and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, all this stuff is really important, so you have to really get onto that and have this available for the fans. Otherwise, yeah, like you said, you don't want to be doing any shows without this stuff.
Now, if I could get those guys from Texas that have Wolf Chili, you ever heard of Wolf Chili?
No, I haven't, but it must
it's
be
better
pretty
than
good.
Hormel. I know you're familiar with Hormel chili.
Yeah, that's crap, right?
We've all had to stoop that low at one time in life, I think. But there actually is a better can of chili out there that I found one day. It's called Wolf Chili. It's made by some company from Texas. And I was thinking, geez, that would be kind of neat if we could get an endorsement there.
That would be cool. Also, I want to know, will you be making or producing any music or lyric videos to promote Last Act of Defiance? Do you have any plans of either maybe some live performance videos or any kind of video? Do you plan on doing anything for this offering?
Yeah, more than likely we'll get some live show videos from this album with, songs from the album. Right now, we only have one song from this album in the show, the new set list, mostly because we needed to wait and get it out there and see what songs people are reacting to. We may end up throwing in Fool's Gold. So far, Take Us to the Stars off the new album is the track that we open up the show with. Once we do a live show, we'll make sure that we get a good live video of that particular song. Once More Into the Breach, the next album, what we're working on right now, like I say, is getting that recorded to release as a single, and we'll have a more produced MTV kind of video to go with that.
That's interesting.
We're going to do a video of the new lineup doing one of the older songs.
That's cool.
Yeah, because that's, get something out with the new lineup, the new singer, so that people can hear him on something brand new.
That's good.
And then turn around and say, okay, if you like that, here's him doing one of the old songs.
Right.
That is our major focus right now, is getting this new lineup exposed, because there's been a lot of confusion. Even the record label got it wrong in the press releases. I caught them like the day after they put up the first press release, and they had in the lineup for the new album that just came out, they had in the lineup an old lineup that hasn't been with us since like 1991.
Wow, that happens.
The drummer and bass player. And the drummer is rest in peace. The drummer died in '96,
Wow.
even after he was out of the band for like 5 years. When I seen that and I go, well, there's no way this guy possibly recorded on the last 5 albums. I caught it early in the game and they changed it. They got on it immediately and changed it.
They probably got their information from the Metal Archives because that's how I get my information.
Right.
And sometimes that stuff is not updated, and sometimes it's just erroneous. They give you the wrong years that the album comes out, the old ones before the new ones. They mix everything up. It depends on who's actually submitting that information to the Metal
Right.
Archives. So that
And
those things happen.
there's a lot of confusion out there right now because it's been so long, and there's at least I'd say one, two, three, four, 5 or 6 different photos out there with 5 or 6 different lineup of the band.
Wow, that could be
So
aggravating for you, I'd imagine.
we're definitely trying to get on the stick here and get this stuff done. Like I say, I think I mentioned to you before we started the interview, I think I mentioned to you that we did some photos just last week. We had a professional photo shoot. So
Yeah,
here this week,
that's also important. Yes.
yeah, very important right now.
And I think you've given us a lot of information of what the fans can expect from you and all of Seasons of the Wolf for the future. You have your work cut out for you. You have a lot of work to do, but this is a new beginning for you. So I'm pretty sure, just from talking to you, you're very excited about this, but at the same time, you might have some apprehension because of your brother's situation. But I think that your brother is giving you the strength to do what you need to do to keep Seasons of the Wolf going. So I give you kudos to that, and I wish you the best in this release, Last Act of Defiance, and all your future releases. And I hope it doesn't take you as long as it may to get that completed. You just got to keep your nose to the grindstone, Skully.
Well, now that we have, this is the first album that we've actually turned over to another label. We all were always in the past have released everything initially on our own, manufacturing and everything, all of it, and gotten in the stock here in our studio. We have an office, a stock room, promotions for Earth Mother Music. We've always put the albums out on our own, and then we had all the other record labels contacting us to basically purchase the stock, different, increments of stock so they could sell and put their stickers on it for other labels. So they would just buy it directly from us. But it helped doing it that way over the years because we formed good relationships with all these labels.
Right.
And Thomas from Iron Shield Records, we actually met him and his partner. And they actually visited here in Florida a few times, and we got to go out and party with them a little bit and get to know them. So that's how the anthology came to be. Those guys didn't even know that we had 2 albums out from back in 1988, 89, 91 era. The anthology is the last thing that was released. It was a double CD containing those first 2 albums that was reissued by Pure Steel Records and Iron Shield Records and Witch's Brew, all 3 of those labels in Germany. And that's what caused the confusion on the lineup.
Oh, wow.
That was part of it. They still had that information from releasing that. That's another thing that kind of kept the name Seasons of the Wolf going over the last 10 years since the last release, was doing the vinyl reissues through Pure Steel. Because they took our self-titled album and I licensed that to them to re-release that on vinyl with a couple of bonus tracks in 2009. And then they turned around and put a double vinyl release of Lost in Hell out in 2012. And then Witch's Brew and Iron Shield got together and teamed up and put out the anthology on a double CD in 2014. So that helped to keep the name going out there because product was continually being released over this long period of time of making this new studio release.
Yeah, thank goodness you're on good terms with these labels that could do this for you because without that, the name disappears. People say, "Oh, no more Seasons of the Wolf."
Right, and we kind of that very much helped. Those reissues of those albums very much helped keep the flames burning for the Wolf.
Right. Scully, is there anything that you'd like to say to your fans that are tuning in at this time, the ones that have been supporting you, that have been eagerly awaiting new music from you? Is there anything that you'd like to say to them?
We definitely appreciate the support that everybody has given us and the interest and your patience. Sorry it took so long to get this one done and get it out, but we are mortals just like you. And we pretty much got we had our clocks cleaned over the last few years, but we finally got through it all, and that was a big inspiration of writing a lot of the material that's coming up on the next album. Was us basically getting back up on our feet and getting back into the fight again, once more under the breach.
You know what they say? They say that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So take that for a situation, and I hope this experience that you've had with the situation, as we mentioned, your brother, and this last decade, you survived it, and let's hope that Seasons of the Wolf is now stronger for that, and that we wish you here at Metal Messiah Radio and the Metal Meltdown that you can have a very successful 2018, and we could be back here in a year or two to talk about the follow up to this, and you could tell us more positive news about the band in future interviews that we could talk about everything related to the band. So I want to wish you the best for this release, your next release, and everything related to that. And I really want to thank you for joining us tonight on the Metal Meltdown on Metal Messiah Radio to talk about what you've gone through over the last decade and what your hopes and dreams are for continuing on with Seasons of the Wolf. And I wish you and everyone in your circle, and I wish your brother the best of health. And I hope that you keep your dream and keep the band alive for many years to come.
Well, thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. And it's been real nice chatting with you again, man. It's been too long, and it's not going to take that long next time.
Well, that's good news. I'm eager to hear this full album, and I'm eager to hear the follow up with the new lineup. And keep us posted. Like if anything should happen or develop as far as merch or videos or shows, or even lineup changes, anything that you want us to spread the word on, contact us, tag us, and we'll help spread the word, because that's what we're here to do. We're still the underground, and the underground, you can't do anything on your own. You need all the support you can get, because with one hand, you're not going to get much done, but with teamwork, you can accomplish
That's
a
right.
lot more. So I wish that for you.
Well, thank you, man. I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
And we appreciate everybody out there that's tuned in and taking time to listen to us ramble on.